I'm Sarah.
And I'm Euan.
And this is
Popcorn and Cumin.
So pop that corn and get ready to talk about all things film, theater, and other... Zoinks! Welcome to the podcast. As you might be able to tell, today we're going to be talking about
Scooby Doo.
The best movie ever, maybe.
And maybe it's even better sequel, Scooby Doo 2.
Maybe.
Monsters Unleashed.
But first we thought you might want to know where the name Popcorn and Cumin comes from.
Yeah, this is an important part of the podcasting lore.
Yes.
For the audience to be aware of, so we're all on the same page and no one is making any sort of illicit comments about what cumin is.
Yes. It is pronounced cumin.
Yes.
Or maybe cumin.
Yeah, no.
But probably cumin.
Cumin.
So basically my mom would make, well, still does, makes popcorn on the stove. And we have inherited this. We make this as well.
It's the best way to make it.
Yes.
Because the oil absorbs the flavor.
The oil absorbs the flavor? No. The popcorn
absorbs the oil off the flavor.
The oil.
The oily flavory goodness.
The popcorn absorbs the oil, which has a nice flavor.
What's the best oil to use?
Canola oil. But they don't have that so much in the UK.
So rapeseed is the next best
so we
bet.
use rapeseed oil, which is a weird name for an oil, but there it is.
Yeah, it's just a crop.
So anyway, it's really easy to make popcorn on the stove. You just put in the oil into the pan. Special pot pan.
Yeah, big pot for lots of popping.
And then you put 3 kernels in. Wait for it to heat up enough so that those pop, so then you know that the oil is hot enough, and then you pour the popcorn in so that there's a layer of popcorn on the bottom, and then you let it pop.
Yeah, the sort of oil has to sort of be covering the bottom, and then
you want it to basically just be about the thickness of a kernel.
Yeah. Is it because you don't want to have too much oil and not enough kernels, or too many kernels and not enough oil?
It'll take some practice to get it exactly right.
Yeah, we're still learning, you could say. Yeah.
But the secret ingredient to this
is love.
No. After you pour...
We have to rename the podcast. It's Popcorn and Love.
Popcorn and Love. So you pour the popcorn into a bowl after it's done the popping. Then you put You put unmelted, regular old butter.
Not old, just normal butter.
Yes, thank you. You put the butter in the pot pan thing, and the butter melts beautifully. You've turned the heat off. The heat is off at this point, but the pan pot is still hot enough that it melts the butter. Pour that over the popcorn.
Drizzle it over.
Drizzle it. You make sure it's spread out. And
you sort of tousle the popcorn to get it spread all around.
Yes. And then you put salt and
cumin
on top of it.
I like dusting of both.
Yes. And that is why the name is Popcorn and Cumin.
And it's very delicious.
Yeah.
Now we also like just sort of regular salty popcorn and specifically sweet and salty popcorn is I think.
Yeah, okay, wait, here's a good time. To highlight a key difference between the United States and the UK.
Yeah. Cinema popcorn isn't as good here.
The UK has...
It's lacking in its cinema popcorn.
So you go to a movie theater in the UK, and your options are not, would you like butter on that? Your options are sweet or salty.
Yeah.
And there is no butter to be had, no buttery topping to be had. It is literally just popcorn with some salt on it, or popcorn with some sugar on it, and not even kettle corn. It's not even cooked, and caramelized.
For the UK listeners out there who might be quite offended hearing this, I was right there with you. Growing up, I really liked getting popcorn from the cinema, despite my wallet not liking it as much, and I'd get I generally would err towards getting sweet popcorn, I think, but as I've grown up, I've also, dabbled in salty popcorn and like that as well. But there's really no comparison to buttery topping. It's just
Yes.
like
And so buttery topping for the UK listeners, in the US, and this is also, so I worked in a movie theater for several years. Now it's shut down, very sad. But I got to know all of the
insider trading,
the
secrets.
backstage secrets. So in the US, the popcorn is, so first you put in the popcorn kernels into this beautiful popcorn machine, and then you put flavored salt on top. So it's like salt that's kind of flavored to taste like butter. That's what makes the popcorn that yellowiness, is this kind of orange salt stuff you put on it. And then after, it already has a kind of salty, buttery flavor. And then, as an employee, then you say, would you like butter on that? Oh my gosh, the range of answers people, and this was always such a big decision for everyone. And it was a big, so many arguments broke out about the butter, so many side eyes, because one person would want the butter, and the other person would not want the butter. And so then they'd be like, oh, can you put butter on? Well, actually, to be fair, I've done this with my mom. Can you put butter on just half of, or they'll have very specific things. They're like, butter, but make sure you layer it. And I'm like, yes, we already layer it. I didn't need your
It's not a 5-star restaurant.
If it's not layered, send it back.
Yeah.
But anyway, so then we ask, do you want butter on that? But it's not butter. It's actually buttery topping.
Did anyone ever bring their butter from home?
No.
They put this butter on it?
No.
Okay.
That's very weird. So I don't actually know what the buttery topping is, because it's not butter. I think it's kind of some kind of oil stuff. And it tastes delicious. Yeah. And it makes my stomach, at least, feel horrible.
Yeah.
But it's so good.
Yeah. No, it is very tasty. But I'd say our popcorn and cumin is also a very tasty. Yeah. It's a different flavor than the buttery topping.
Yeah, very different.
So don't go trying it at home thinking it's a replicant of the buttery topping flavor, because it isn't. But it's definitely worth trying out. Different. And then, yeah, you'll all be converted to the popcorn and cumin lifestyle. Indeed.
A glorious lifestyle it is.
Yeah. So much cumin consumed.
And it's a cheap snack too.
Yeah. You just have to find popcorn kernels.
Yeah, you could live off of it. Popcorn for breakfast. That was another option for our podcast name, was popcorn for breakfast. But I think popcorn for dinner is already something.
Don't come for us, popcorn for dinner. We'll outlast you.
So that is the story behind the name. We thought we would let you all know now that, we're actually up on all-ish podcasting platforms, now that we've had some listeners. We love you, our loyal listeners.
Yeah, we've received grand feedback, such as that wasn't as bad as we were expecting.
Yeah.
Well, no, one of my friends, he said that it's actually surprisingly well done.
Yeah, so, there you go.
Yeah, thanks, Billy.
5-star review. Yeah. Shout out to our number one fan.
Yeah.
Okay, now for what we actually came here to talk about.
The main event.
Scooby Doo. Oh, very good. Goodness.
I'm currently suffering from a cold, and prior to me becoming under the weather, my impression was much better.
Yeah, that's it. So we actually watched these out of order. Mm-hmm. We watched Scooby Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed. Yeah. First, although we've seen both of these a number of times.
Yeah.
And then Scooby Doo 1, just Scooby Doo.
Scooch Dooge. Sarah was remarking that you're more familiar actually with the sequel, because that is the only one you had on DVD.
Yeah, I probably watched Scooby Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed probably about 20 times within my childhood, and I probably only watched the first one
20 times.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yes. Yeah, but the first one only once or twice, which is a shame, because the first one's... Well, then I think now I can enjoy the first one more since I've seen it less.
Because you're less familiar with it?
Yeah, so then the jokes kind of come up and surprise me. And I'm like, wait, that is actually really funny.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, because we've got a couple of movies well, you have a couple of movies such as like the first Pirates of the Caribbean where like you and obviously at least the first Harry Potter, but you can like basically quote them and you know what's gonna like you could like sort of just close your eyes and
Harry
quote
Potters.
Yeah, the whole movie. Whereas I have a couple.
No, Ron, no. Sorry.
I have a couple that I am like, sort of intimately familiar with from watching them a lot as a child, but like I don't really have the sort of retrospective knowledge that I know them as well as this. So for instance, Scooby Doo is one of them where we were watching it and like I was like quoting things like before they were happening, but I'm like almost like surprised that I know it that well. So
yeah, and you were singing along to all those songs, but I didn't know if that was because you knew the songs.
No, I don't. Yeah,
you know them from Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Well, I guess I know the ones they sing in the second one. Mm-hmm. I don't think they sing any.
Well, both movies actually, despite not being musicals, they do have like quite a lot of like music in them.
Yeah.
But the second one, there's probably more. There's like characters singing, so it's like that's like the point of like the scene.
Groovy.
Yeah. Whereas I just sort of the very like pop punky, like noughties. This is like the most like early 2000s sort of feeling movie I think I've like ever seen. And I'm not even really sure what.
One, right?
Yeah, because I'm not even really sure. I'm not really that cognizant of much of the early 2000s, at least not to the extent where I can analyze it on a sort of societal level and be like, oh, this was totally what the early 2000s was like growing up, because I was really taking that in and making judgments about that when I was 3 years old when this movie came out. So but it just sort of, I don't know, just everything about it really like feels like you're like in a, you know the band Sum 41?
No.
Okay, well they were part of the sort of late 90s early 2000s sort of like pop punk scene with like Blink 182 and
you mean
Blink 182.
Quick UK US differences. Here in the UK they call it Blink 182. Yeah. And in the US, we call it Blink 182. But I believe I've seen on the band's poster or something, they spell out 182. No.
Oh.
182.
Oh, wow.
I believe.
Oh. Well, there you go. But I don't know if there's any Blink 182 on the soundtrack, but I'm not even really sure what the artists are on the soundtrack. I think, you know, there's a scene in the movie where there's a band playing. Mm-hmm. I think that's
isn't it Fred's band, or is it just a random
Fred's band?
I thought when he goes all green, when he turns into a monster, he's singing in a sort of boy.
No, I think that's a different character who's also blonde.
Oh, oops.
I think that's a real band. Like in the real world, it's like a real band who are like playing like one of their songs, and it's probably like a neat little like reference to people who are fans of them. But they just really seem like a real like early 2000s sort of band in their look and their sound and stuff. Yeah, with
all the spring breakers and.
Yeah, well, I mean, Spring Break is like still
no,
like
I know,
thing,
but what they're wearing and their vibes.
Yeah. Yeah, they have strong early 2000s vibes.
Yeah, except they're also monsters.
Well, no, they kind. Yeah. What I will say is that we briefly watched Scooby Doo and the Loch Ness Monster, which is a animated Scooby Doo, which I want to watch because it's set in Scotland. And I was sort of I think I had that on DVD growing up as well, and I was curious to see how bad the accents were. And after watching it for about 5 minutes, I was like, the accents are in fact terrible. But in Scooby-Doo, generally the way it goes is that the monster is always just an old man, usually in a mask. Like there's never actually anything supernatural going on, which this first movie is actually different from like other Scooby-Doo things, at least that I remember, in that there actually are monsters. There's a sort of like multifaceted plot going on where...
In both of them, 1 and 2, we've got real monsters.
2 is a little bit different though, because it's basically like a weird... Yeah, like they're basically taking fake monster costumes and then putting them in a machine, which then makes real monsters. I don't understand,
like how is that gloopy thing? How is that a costume? How do you wear the gloop?
Yeah, that is a little weird.
And those little skeletons.
And who makes that big eye? And how does it?
How is that a costume?
Yeah, that is weird. Yeah, I'm not really like they just show in the museum. They just show the like skeleton man, I think.
Yeah.
But it's like okay, unless they're reanimated skeletons, like who is fitting in this?
Yeah, unless they're
costume
puppets or something.
Yeah,
but the Gloop one makes
or a machine.
And I remember the Gloop guy looks really weird in the museum. Like his eye looks like a sort of big lamp or something. Yeah, he looks really weird.
So the two movies are written or not directed, I don't think, but they're written by James Gunn, who is now quite prominent in pop culture as the writer-director of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
Oh, this isn't the Gilmore Girls guy.
No, that's his brother. Yeah, Sean Gunn, I think. Yeah. I'm kind of surprised Sean Gunn wasn't in this, because he seems to be in basically everything he does. But
he didn't do Gilmore Girls? He was
no, I don't think so. Yeah.
Sean Gunn has a career outside.
No, I'm not saying he doesn't, but he does seem to. I'm more saying that James Gunn likes to put his brother in things. Okay. I'm not saying he owes his career to.
I want a brother
James
like
Gunn.
that.
Yeah.
Come on, Harrison, put me in your movies.
So and now obviously his prominence he's basically like leading like DC's sort of revitalized cinematic campaign to not great success so far, although I don't think he's actually put out anything that he's been really in charge of making. He just inherited a bunch of stuff that his
Guardians 3 was.
But that was for Marvel. That was like the last good Marvel thing. Yeah, so far they've released Flash, which bombed, and Blue Beetle, which I think did not great, but was sort of lower budget anyway.
The Batman?
That was right before he took over, I think.
Oh.
So, yeah. But I don't think he's really had any control over it. And he also did the second Suicide Squad movie, which I actually think is really good. But I think because it was released during COVID, also bombed, really. So he's not had the greatest sort of go at things so far. But would you say you can see a sort of through line between Scooby Doo's writing and Guardians of the Galaxy?
Maybe in the humor.
Mm-hmm.
And that I find both of them funny. Maybe I find Scooby Doo funnier.
Yeah, it's got more of that sort of adult humor.
No, yeah, it's great because it's for kids, but it has that hidden layer of adult humor.
I mean, really not so hidden layer.
Well, but if you're a small kid, you're not going to understand that they're smoking pot in a van.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at the sort of trivia before we started this podcast. I'm not sure if this is something you've got in your copious notes, but apparently the original intent for the movie was something that was going to be much darker in tone. Although I'm not really sure when it said darker. If you're talking,
Scooby Doo.
Yeah, Scooby Doo
1.
Yeah,
the very first one.
I'm not sure if it means darker in the sense that it's actually darker, or if they actually just mean it's more mature, because it's already, I feel kind of mature. What the IMDb trivia page was saying was that it was going to have more it was going to make fun of the cartoons and stuff to more of an extent, and and Shaggy was going to be obviously a stoner. It was also saying that Daphne and Velma were going to have some sort of lesbian relationship in it, which I would have been all for. But
I can see it. Yeah. Well, they don't really interact that much, to be honest.
Does that make it darker, IMDb? I think you want to reword that.
Well, and I think it's already really obvious that Shaggy is a stoner. Yeah. I mean, his girlfriend's name is Mary Jane,
and he says that's his favorite. That's my favorite name.
My favorite name.
Yeah.
And the scene where it just shows the van, and then it shows a bunch of smoke coming out of as if they're hotboxing the van.
Yeah, but they're just grilling inside.
Eating,
they're grilling inside.
Just having some hot dogs. Yeah. That's all.
Yeah. So I think that's interesting. Apparently they had to sort of use CGI to edit post filming to edit out a lot of cleavage and things, which is interesting. Yeah, apparently there's a lot of low cut tops and stuff that apparently wouldn't fly for it being a kids movie. So
it is spring break.
Yeah,
and I feel I did notice some.
Well,
cleavage.
I imagine how low cut they must have been.
Yeah, that's true.
So I believe that's a true fact that they had to use CGI. So they must have been quite extreme, I think.
Really?
Yeah, but yeah, I definitely think it's.
What about my trivia?
If you have trivia you want to share, go ahead.
Yeah. Scooby Doo got his name from a Frank Sinatra song.
Oh, wow.
This is not specific to the live action movies, but when Scoob was first created, he was named for a Frank Sinatra song called Strangers in the Night, because in it they go doobie doobie doo. And from that we got Scooby Dooby Doo.
Wow.
That's my trivia.
Yeah, I mean, it is a strange name. You sort of wonder how someone would come up with it, but it is iconic, you know? I like how they, in the movie, changed the Warner Brothers logo into SD from WB, like Scooby Doo's little nameplate thing. What do you call that? Dog
did
tag.
They do that?
Yeah. I definitely think it holds up quite well. I think like a lot of the humor. I was thinking about this. It's almost like our generation's maybe like coming of age movie in some way, you know? Because like previous generations have had like Breakfast Club and American Pie and stuff. And this didn't come out like that long after American Pie, but because it's aimed at a younger audience, but it still has like humor for, I think maybe it sort of fits that bill, you know?
Yeah, I think I definitely relate to it more than American Pie.
Well, exactly, yeah. Because it's aimed at children.
Because Scooby Doo, it's not a boy's story and it's not a girl's story.
Yeah. It was just a talking dog, you know? That's a reference to when the cast of the movie were doing their press release. There's a clip where Sarah Michelle Gellar, who plays Daphne, is talking about like why the Scooby-Doo cartoons really resonated with, that's a good word, with so many people. And yeah, her reasoning is that it's...
Yeah, well, I'm trying... Because she said, you know, it's for everyone. It wasn't a boys' cartoon. It wasn't a girls' cartoon.
Yeah.
And she's sort of going into this, like, in-depth look at Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, like actual sort of analysis as to, like, why it sort of has, I guess, captured a generation or generations.
Yeah. And then you cut to...
Freddie Prinze Jr., who plays Fred, and he just goes, it was a talking dog, you know?
Yeah.
I think both analyses are accurate, you know? I think both things can be true.
Yeah.
You know? It's sort of hard to even really sort of like objectively like criticize it or even like look at it as a movie because it's so like wrapped up in nostalgia. I feel like for me, like it just sort of reminds me of myself like watching it as a child and well, that's the second one for me. But watching the first one, I genuinely think it's hilarious. Mm-hmm. Best lines from the first movie. The best line, I want to do it justice because it's I actually think is actually a very well written joke.
Is it the one that Fred says?
Yeah, I definitely think that's the best.
He has another good line in the second one that I kind of forgot happens, where Velma is feeling insecure or something, and then Fred is like, "No, I mean, I'm into nerdy chicks too." Like,
well,
okay.
You've butchered the line from the first movie that I was about to say.
Oh, okay. So. Well, we'll cut that one part out.
Okay. So, well, you can read out the Velma part.
Okay. So Velma's feeling insecure about herself, and she says, "I know you. All you care about are swimsuit models."
And then Fred goes, "Look, I'm a man of substance. Dorky chicks like you turn me on too." Which is, I think, is very good. It's very clever.
It kind of just caught me off guard because I felt like I knew when all the jokes were coming, but I didn't remember that one. Mm-hmm. I just thought it was really good. There's
a lot of strong sort of physical comedy, I would say. Maybe the best part is when they are meeting up at the airport and basically the premise of the movie is that Mystery Inc. breaks up because the personalities have started to clash. Velma's sick of not getting any credit. Daphne feels like she's just like a damsel in distress. Fred basically manages to somehow take credit all the time for everything, despite not really being smart or doing anything.
Yeah.
And Shaggy and Scooby are still happy with the situation. They're just happy as long as they get to eat. So
yeah. Well, the funny thing is Daphne throughout the movie is kind of like, I'm just the pretty face, like I don't contribute anything. Mm-hmm. But she's got her martial arts and shit.
Well, she's since learned that from the start. Yeah.
But Fred is the pretty face. Like Fred doesn't contribute anything to this group.
Yeah. I mean, he does actually demonstrate some sort of leadership qualities.
Well, that's supposedly what he's supposed to, but all he does is say, "Let's split up and look for clues."
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's his like go-to. Yeah. It's like the Simpsons thing where it's like Lisa and Bart are like playing rock paper scissors, and Lisa, it like cuts their like thought processes, and Lisa's like, "Poor predictable Bart always goes for rock," and then Bart's like, "Good old rock, nothing beats that." And like Fred's "nothing beats that" is split up and look for clues. Yeah. I find it sort of interesting, like when I used to watch Scooby Doo cartoons as a child, I'm not saying this is like exclusively that like a young boy would necessarily like gravitate to the sort of cool and sort of handsome like male character or something, but I never really like bonded with like Fred at all. Like I always
So
like,
who did you gravitate toward?
I don't know, like I think I liked Scooby, Shaggy, and probably Velma, because I feel like in the cartoons like Daphne probably is somewhat like what they're saying in the movie, where she doesn't actually have that much. And I liked like Velma, that she's like capable and smart. So, and then like Shaggy and Scooby are like stupid, so you find them humorous, so you like them for that reason. But actually in these movies, because Fred I think is very like they play him off to be like a complete buffoon, like he is quite funny and like endearing for that reason.
Yeah, and I guess if what you sort of said to me earlier, that it was initially going to be more making fun of the cartoon, then that makes sense that they're showing that he really is just kind of an idiot. Mm-hmm. And they're playing up Daphne being like, all I am is a damsel in distress. Mm-hmm. But then they get some character. Well, I don't know if Fred doesn't get any character development.
No, I mean he learns like about, I guess, what he did like wrong previously. Like the movie ends with him basically saying like they like the reporters like go to him to like ask him about how he like helped solve the case or whatever.
I think Coolsville sucks.
Yeah, and he immediately then defers to Velma.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, we get some character development.
Yeah, and
maybe
Velma,
not from Shaggy and Scooby.
No, I mean they learn that they love each other. I suppose
that's true.
They have their little.
Who's your best pal in the whole wide world?
Yeah,
Shaggy.
Yeah, Ruby Woo.
That's a good moment.
Yeah. But yeah, what we were talking about, the physical comedy when they turn up at the airport, and then Scooby is having to like dress up as, what is it, Shaggy says his grandma
or aunt or something.
Great Aunt Muriel or something like, I don't know.
That is from Harry Potter.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. And people are like, no one's gonna buy that, and then Fred is immediately like, who brought this old lady or something. Yeah.
And then when Fred says, I know just how to deal with dogs, you just gotta flick him in the nose, and he flicks him in the nose, and then Scoop punches it in the face. Yeah,
gives him a big like right cross in the face. Yeah, I do think all the characters like get some room to sort of breathe. It doesn't just focus on like Scooby and Shaggy. Like Fred does have like sort of moments, and Daphne and Velma both also have moments. It's quite interesting, like in the period between the gang breaking up and then rejoining for the events of the movie, Velma's like talking about how she's been like working for like NASA and stuff. Yeah. But then presumably between the end of the first movie and then the second movie, they've just gone back to like solving mysteries and stuff. So like whatever like groundbreaking scientific pursuits like she's done,
screw space exploration.
She's abandoned that again just to solve mysteries. What's also interesting, I thought, is in the second movie, it's much more of a kind of, we talked about this a little bit in the Edward Scissorhands, where it's clearly like set in like the US, but it's like not real. Whereas in the first Scooby-Doo, it's like they go to Spooky Island, which is of course like, well, presumably not a real place, who knows, but it sort of, whereas the second movie entirely takes place in this weird place called Coolsville, but it also seems like as if all of their mysteries are solved in Coolsville. Like they're
is that in the cartoon? Are they from Coolsville?
I think so. Like they go to like Coolsville High or something.
Yeah.
But like I think they like travel around and solve mysteries. They're not just like there's like a new mystery every week in Coolsville that they have to like solve, because they have like
save the town.
Well, they have like a little like base of operations. It's kind of like what like the Thunderbirds have or something in the second one.
Apparently Coolsville is located in Southern California.
Yeah, that seems about right. A lot of kooky characters down there.
Yeah.
The first one, however, takes place on Spooky Island, which is, of course, quite a strange place because there's a lot of, I would say, complexity to the mystery that they end up actually, like, uncovering. So basically, Spooky Island is, well, an island that has had a sort of theme park built on it by a man with a very strange name. I think it's kind of Greek-sounding, but he's played by Mr. Bean, otherwise known as Rowan Atkinson. And when they start uncovering the mystery, the gang is basically, like, lured there because they are told they have, like, a mystery to sort of try and solve. Is it like people are going missing, or that like there's weird things happening or something? Is that what the calling card they're given is?
I don't think they're really told much of anything. It's just that they've received an invitation.
Yeah.
And
they just decide to go.
Yeah, and they offer them money And then Scooby and Shaggy are like, no. And then they offer them free plane ticket, no. And then they say, well, it's all you can eat. And then Scooby goes, for all you can eat?
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's how they're lured to the island. Mm-hmm. But then the mystery is that these spring breakers are becoming sour grapes.
Oh yeah, they're coming back weird. They go there full of like excitement and
they're coming back. It's like they're coming back like in Spy Kids. Maybe Spy Kids 2, when the two main character spy children have these evil twins. Oh no, I think it's Spy Kids 1. They have evil twins made of them who are like evil and have super strength and can like throw people and stuff. So that's what the Spring Breakers are like.
Yeah, and when they arrive at the island, they see someone like sort of freaking out and picking someone up with like one arm.
Yeah, it's like in Spy Kids.
Well, there you go. That must have been a thing in the early 2000s. Yeah. That was like the go-to plot device. But the island is, I guess, in a sort of like loose sense, in the same way that it's sort of like, I guess, the sort of tiki like themed, where it's like a sort of non-specific culture, but that's the kind of like vibe it's got going.
Yeah, and there's a really weird thing where at this sort of opening campfire that they go to, there's this performance of a guy who I guess is supposed to be maybe indigenous to the island.
But you also kind of think that maybe he's an actor.
Yeah, but you think, because he tells this story about how someone took their land and built a theme park on it, and that's why the spirits are seeking revenge or something like that. So you think that he's acting, because then Velma is also like, if it weren't for the holographic projectors there and there. I'm like, yeah, well, we can all see those. That's not actually that smart, Velma. But then later, like the Mystery Inc. gang uses this as a motivation of why that guy would have...
He becomes a suspect because of this motivation.
Because they're like, because he's got grief because they stole his land. Yeah. But they played it off as if he was I don't know. Actor, yeah. It's really weird.
Yeah, I think they maybe see him do some like other suspicious stuff. Like they see him in like the haunted mansion thing that they go to.
Yeah, it's these parts of it are quite iffy. The voodoo stuff, iffy as well. Yeah. Well, maybe not even iffy, maybe just bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I would say it's not very culturally sensitive. And perhaps if it was made nowadays, it would not be set in the same sort of location. But they basically uncover a sort of pretty like complex plan where the island does have a sort of like curse or like religion where a bunch of monsters live on it and are basically... I guess maybe they were like trapped on the island or something and they want to get off the island, so they're basically like stealing the souls of people who come visit the island and then stealing their bodies and going back into the world, which you see a bunch of people leaving. So like, do those people ever get their like souls back, their like bodies back?
Well, I think because they spill out all the souls. But are they like flying across the ocean on them? Desperately?
But they also can't really... They're not very good at like finding where they're meant to be going. So
well, and can you imagine you've just been dropped off on an island, now you're a floating head, you have to find your way across the ocean to find, like, you wouldn't know which direction to go.
Yeah. So so not only is the curse real, but then what is revealed is the Grand Master behind the whole plan. They think...
Spoiler.
Yeah, they think has been Mr. Bean the whole time, and then they reveal it is Mr. Bean, but in fact it isn't Mr. Bean because it is a robot version of Mr. Bean who is being inhabited by Scrappy Doo, who we'd previously seen in a flashback scene, the only time you see him earlier in the movie, who gets kicked out of the gang, the mystery gang, for being like a brat.
Yeah, because
and they just like abandon him in the desert.
Yeah, and it's really weird. In that scene, he pees on Daphne, and then Fred is like, "You were marking your territory." So then he's like Scrappy's into Daphne. It's very weird.
Yeah, that is strange, yeah. And then it reveals that Scrappy... Well, what's his motivation? That he wants to get all the souls to grow really big because he has like a growth problem or something? And then he can like get his revenge on Mystery Inc. for like abandoning him?
Yeah, I guess he just wants power.
Yeah.
I don't know, actually.
So but yeah,
to be honest, I didn't really know about. So the monsters are in on it too? Are they working with Scrappy?
I think he has somehow managed to like convince the monsters to like sort of be his underlings, kind of like Scar and the hyenas in Lion King, for his own like nefarious gain. But like they're gonna get something out of it as well, it seems like. But it does seem sort of odd that like this little dog has managed to like hijack this, quite powerful force for his like own like gain. It's like the monsters are like, it seems like they would be able to like do enough by themselves. They don't really need this dog's help, who isn't really.
Well, the dog, he's the one who lures the people in.
Well, he lures Mystery Inc. in.
But
Mr. Bean is a real person. I presume he is like the legitimate owner of the theme park, and then he replaces him.
What happened before Scrappy Doo? Would the monsters still? Surely they didn't start inhabiting people until.
Yeah.
But they were already on the island?
I think so, yeah. Like, I think it's...
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess if you take a close look at the mystery, it's not airtight.
Yeah.
But it's not really
Well, it's maybe airtight, but it doesn't really... They don't really give you all the answers that maybe, if you're going through it with a fine-tooth comb, that are cropping up as we're discovering. I guess you're sort of entertained by the mystery. Although, yeah, you're right. It's not really what you're there for. You're there for the laughs and the talking dog. Yeah.
I mean, it's a talking dog. Okay, should we talk a bit about the second one?
Yeah.
Is the mystery in the second one, do you think that's a bit more airtight?
No, I think the mystery is worse in the second one.
No, okay. I think that the mystery is more airtight because it's simpler.
Yeah. I feel like the mystery in the second one is kind of like the end of like Wayne's World, when they just go like, but who are you really? And then they like rip someone's like their mask off, and it just turns out to be someone like completely random,
No, they give you clues.
So basically, the plot of the second one is that Mystery Inc. are now like heroes within Coolsville because they've solved so many mysteries, and then they open a museum to them for some reason, which has all of their like former adversaries' costumes on display. And then someone comes in and steals the costume. It's like a guy in a kind of weird like black outfit with like a silver mask.
Yeah.
And he comes in and steals the costumes and says like, I'm going to show that you're all like a bunch of buffoons, Mystery Inc. and that you've only really like solved mysteries through luck. And then his plan is to basically like subjugate the people of Coolsville and show that Mystery Inc. aren't capable of like saving them, because if they were, actual like heroes, they would be able to do that. So that's his motive, or their motive. But I think the second one, for me, it becomes like a lot more like silly. I was going to say there's a lot more toilet humor. However, in the first movie, there is like a far-off competition. Which, to be honest, does make me cringe a little bit. Like, that's one of my lowest points off the first movie. Well. So.
But the 8-year-old boys or whatever probably eat it up.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, okay, so now we're doing Scooby Doo 1 versus Scooby Doo 2.
Yeah.
Now, I think that Scooby Doo 1 is funnier. Scooby Doo 2, it does have better, the monsters look much better.
Yeah. But Scooby Doo, I think, looks worse.
I don't know.
I think I think the CGI for him looks worse. Like, it looks more weird. I don't know if it's like an Uncanny Valley thing where he like actually looks more like a normal dog, but then because you're like aware that it isn't an actual dog, you're like,
yeah.
But I think he looks like more like a sort of computer generated like thing in the second one. It always looks as if it's the real character, like the humans, and then this CGI thing. Whereas in the first one, I just don't think I was getting that sense in the same way. But
yeah, do you think it has anything to do with the acting? Do you think like Shaggy believed more that there was a Scooby in the first one? Like maybe they had someone dressed as a dog.
Yeah. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I mean that's not really substantive to like how good or bad the movie like is. If you're gonna say the CGI for the monsters is better in the second one, I do agree with that. However,
yeah, and it's kind of they've got different vibes. The second one is a bit darker, not necessarily in theme, but like literally.
Yeah.
In the cinematography, it's a lot darker.
Uh-huh.
And you have some good, like the bit, I think it was viral a little bit ago, the bit when they're in the mine basement thing, and Scooby and Shaggy find those potions.
Yeah.
That like turn them into. Some of that stuff was funny.
Yeah.
I think for some reason
Scooby turns into the Tasmanian devil, which is funny. Yeah.
I like when he turns into sort of Einstein. I don't know why. I think that's quite good.
No, that stuff is good. I feel like it's more like the humor in the second one is more like it's sort of like Family Guy humor where it's like they just do like random things, and it's because it's like non sequiturs. It's like funny, but it's not always like directly like linked to the plot. I don't know. There's like a funny bit where like Scooby goes like looking for clues, and then he comes back with a bunch of. Oh,
that's good.
Yeah, but it's just like completely like nonsense, which is funny, but it's just like it's just so random. No, they're
looking for clues in the guy's creepy castle.
Well, no, Scooby gets the idea that he has to look for clues. Like that's like he becomes determined to look for clues, and he just starts picking up random objects. Yeah. And then
like
Shaggy
Scooby, why is a toilet brush a clue?
Yeah. Well, Shaggy very he very poignantly says that those aren't clues; those are just things you want.
Yeah, that's funny.
And then he finds Scooby Doo accidentally picks up a Post-it note which says something.
The faux ghost.
Yeah, tonight. And then like, wow, it's tonight. Yeah. That's convenient. But who knows when that was written? I think they're sort of aware of that, which I thought was funny. Because, like, that is, of course, not really a useful clue.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a little bit, but, yeah.
And then that bit, the faux ghost bit, is good as well. Because that's when we get Scooby's song.
Yeah.
Thank you for running.
Yeah. They do a big dance number with Scooby-Doo in a sort of disco stew get-up.
Okay, and this can bring us into our segment...
Better as a musical?
No.
Would this be better as a musical?
No.
Why isn't this a musical?
Yes.
We got there eventually.
Because Scooby-Doo 2 kind of is.
Yeah, well, they have the bit which we were just talking about where Shaggy and Scooby briefly sing that.
And they have the credit
exchanging glances.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But that only lasts like 5 seconds.
That's after they find the toilet brush.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, then they have the song in the Faux Ghost, and then they have another credit song in the Faux Ghost with everyone, which I quite enjoyed. And I think that's also a thing that they did in the 2000s a lot. Like in Bring It On. Do you remember when we watched that?
Was Bring It On a musical or no?
Bring It On is a musical separately from the film. Yeah. Isn't that written by
Lin-Manuel Miranda?
Yeah. Good old Lin.
You know him so well.
Yes.
Isn't his name Lin-Manuel? Like, isn't that how you would say his name?
No, I don't know. Probably. Anyway, in Bring It On, they have end credits where everyone is lip syncing to a song.
Yeah. It's like in Shrek. They end with songs in Shrek as well.
Was that from the 2000s?
Yeah.
The noughties?
Yeah. You have All-Star Smash Mouth at the end of Shrek 1, and then there's Livin' La Vida Loca at the end of Shrek 2.
Well, isn't it at the end of Shrek 1? Don't they have a whole musical? Or is that just in the special?
Yeah, I think in the special features on the DVD they did stuff like that.
Isn't there something where there's like an American Idol?
Yeah, that's Shrek 2. Yeah, and Simon Cowell's in it. It's like the most like cursed thing I've ever seen.
Is he actually in it?
Yeah, it's like animated Simon Cowell in...
But he voices it.
It probably is him, yeah. I could see his ego letting him do that, yeah. But
why is it cursed?
Well, why is Simon Cowell part of the Shrek universe?
Oh, you just really don't like Simon Cowell.
Well, there's not an awful lot to like, but it's just like, I don't know, I just
brought One Direction together.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I suppose you've got a soft spot in your heart for Simon for that.
Okay, but anyway, Scooby-Doo 2. So my suggestion for if it were to become a musical is maybe going along that line of kind of doing a jukebox musical, because I think that worked really well with maybe, I hate to say it, maybe limited songs.
Yeah, the only thing I'm thinking is that I really associate, because of the early 2000s movies we're discussing, and there's like the What's New Scooby-Doo cartoon show, which is what I was most familiar with, which has a song which they play in the movies. Like it goes like, yeah, that's like the theme song.
But have you heard the version that we would sing when we were children? That's inappropriate.
No, I don't want to hear this.
No, you have to. It's really.
How crass is it?
It's not that crass.
Okay.
It goes Scooby Dooby Doo. Scooby Dooby Doo went poo.
Oh, God.
And Shaggy.
Alright, cut.
No, starting over.
He's going to say Shaggy took a bite or something?
No, yes. Scooby Dooby Doo
went
poo. And Shaggy thought it was candy. Shaggy took a bite and turned all white. And that was the end of Shaggy.
Nice. We actually had that in Scotland as well, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
But you
the lyrics are slightly
it.
different, though.
Okay, what was yours?
I don't want to say anything. It's got more swearing in it, I think.
Oh, then we'd have to put the big E on the episode.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, back to the
two sticking points I'm thinking practically for the musical. I don't know if like pop punk would like as a jukebox musical would like really like work. I just can't like imagine it.
Do you mean that song specifically?
What and just the other like music I'm like associating with like that is it like played in the movies. There's like sort of fast like pop punky songs, which I don't know if necessarily would work in like a musical format. They might. I just haven't really.
I think they might. But listen.
Okay.
Did you know that it was already a musical?
No. Oh, here comes the trivia.
This.
Here comes Sarah's notes.
Scooby-Dooby
Live.
Scooby-Doo Live Musical Mysteries was a musical, and it even played at the London Palladium.
Oh, wow.
Is that how you say that?
Yeah, we've been there.
Yeah, just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
In 2016, it was at the London Palladium. And I had a little look at, there was like a little preview of some of the songs, and it did not look good.
What?
And they do that song in it.
Scooby Dooby Doo.
Yeah, and it's just,
Your
it's a little
version?
bit, no. It just was a little bit cringe, and I think it was maybe for kids, but it lacked the inappropriate adult humor along with being for kids.
Yeah.
It was just for kids. And
missing that sharp dog bite of adult humor.
yeah, it was a lot of like, hi, I'm Fred, and I'm Daphne.
Yeah.
And kind of just an over-exaggerated version of the show just on stage.
Yeah.
So then that kind of turned me off of the musical.
Did they have original songs?
Yeah.
My thing, what I was going to say was that you would have to have Scooby-Doo and Shaggy sing in their like actual voices, like the characters' voices. And I think that would be very difficult. Apparently Matthew Lillard, who I think his performance as Shaggy, very, very impressive in the movies.
Yeah.
Really nails the character. To get his sort of like hoarse voice, he was doing like, he would just scream a lot to like make his voice go all like hoarse and stuff.
Oh goodness.
And then he was like struggling to actually do the like takes and stuff, so he decided to abandon that strategy and instead just would imitate how he sounded like after he'd done that, and that's how he managed to capture the Shaggy voice, But
at what cost?
Well, exactly. I just think you'd lose like a lot of the sort of personality of those characters if they don't sound like that.
Yeah, but it was good the way they did it in Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed. In that song, where it's kind of a ensemble song, but then they have little moments where you can just hear Scooby doing it in his voice, and it's like quite funny.
Because they're sort of like talk singing. I just don't know if they could properly do a big show.
No, he's like, thank you for letting me.
Yeah, well,
rematch. That was horrible.
Well, we'll have to agree to disagree on how substantive a singing portfolio that is.
Well, I think it's not that I personally am very good at singing in character voices, but there's tons of shows where they sing in character voices throughout.
No, I'm sure you could do it. It's just
Beetlejuice.
That's what my sort of, if it would work for me, they would have to be able to do that, is what my sort of condition is. But you're sort of erring on the side of caution on Better as a Musical. We're only 4 episodes in, and I thought you were never ever going to say it's not better than as a musical.
Well, I'm going to say better as a jukebox musical with limited songs and maybe about 2 original songs.
Yeah. Okay. I could get behind that.
Okay.
Do you think either movie would be like the plot would be better as a musical? If Scooby-Doo 2002 or Scooby-Doo Monsters Unleashed never existed, but instead there was a musical that was similar in its place, would you be happy with that trade?
Yeah. I think it could work well on stage. They just need to do Scooby-Doo correctly. I think that was another problem I had with the musical one I saw, because it was just Scooby in a big costume, like you would see at Disneyland or something.
That's the other thing. Like, I'm not sure if I really want to see someone in a costume like that on stage.
I think it could work if you did it with a puppet and it was done correctly.
You hate puppets?
Like Lion King puppets.
Okay.
But more silly and less cool.
Okay.
I think it would be hard to do, to be honest. Oh no. Oh no.
No, I'm more behind the puppet. I feel like I wouldn't really want a guy. It's like when I see the pictures from like the Shrek musical. Like I think
I was just gonna bring up Donkey.
Well, I think all the characters look like just look weird.
But I think that would be better if it was makeup with a bit, which is kind of what Donkey has, right? With like a bit of a dog nose.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe cautiously. No, I don't think it would be better as a musical.
Wow.
Unless you count the like 1 or 2 songs that are already in it as it being a musical.
Well, I think Scooby Doo 2 could be better as a musical. Because that would give you some opportunity to sort of iron out maybe some of the issues with the plot.
There are more issues with the plot in the first one.
Well, yeah, but I was just more compelled by it. by it.
I understand that. Yeah. I think I put up a fight for the second one, but honestly, maybe the first one is better.
But they're both very enjoyable. Like, I would never, if someone was to say, do you want to watch Scooby Doo 1 and 2 back to back? I'd be saying when and where. I wouldn't be saying turn that second one off and I'm in.
What about the prequel?
Well, this was something
What's it called?
Oh, I shudder to think, to be honest. I remember seeing this sort of really sort of scuffed looking Scooby Doo live action poster.
The Mystery Begins.
Scooby Doo The Mystery Begins.
Yes.
And I sort of always assumed it was like some sort of like made-for-TV movie that they were just like, let's just do Scooby-Doo as like live action. But Sarah then informed me that it's actually within the Scooby-Doo live action canon, as in the 2 movies we've just discussed. It is like the prequel to these movies, but with an entirely different cast. Like, I don't think probably like any of the same cast and crew, at least the sort of on the creative side.
And there's a high school flashback in one of them, but I don't think any of those actors made the cut for the...
But I feel like that was really the only backstory you really need.
Just them playing Frisbee and being happy.
Well, it's like, do you really need a prequel to But
you haven't seen it. You can't judge.
Yeah,
I remember I kind of liked it.
Okay.
Fred, I don't think is blonde, which is kind of weird.
That's control. So does that mean he's dyed his hair blonde for that? Wow.
Or he had dyed his hair black.
As like a sort of high schooly cool thing to do.
Yeah.
I can't live with these blonde locks anymore.
Okay, so the consensus is Scooby-Doo 1
wins out.
Maybe the better Scooby-Doo movie.
Yeah, for me, but I think particularly in my friend group, I think that would be kind of controversial.
Really?
Yeah, I think Scooby-Doo 2 is the big favourite.
Well, there you go, my kind of people.
Yeah, maybe we'll circle back onto this in the future, and we can have a real defense of Scooby-Doo 2. It'll be me on one side of a table, and then you,
everyone else on the other.
Yeah, and things could get ugly. Who knows?
No, maybe I would join your side for part of it. I'll be a double agent.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, well.
That was Popcorn and Cumin episode 4, maybe. Who knows?
No.
It was an episode.
3. Thanks for listening to this episode of
Popcorn and Cumin.
Popcorn and Cumin. This was part of our spooky season.
Extended
edition. Taking it into November. And we will have more spooky season extended to come. So
stay tuned.
Stay tuned.